Okay, let's start. So yesterday we were seeing the covariance. Yes. So can someone explain me what we discussed in covariance? Anyone?
It's
Covariance is the relationship between the two variables.
Gives a relationship between two areas, right?
Yes.
And what is the relationship that covariance shows? The sign of the relationship. That's all. You remember?
Yes.
sign or direction. Is it?
Sign and direction.
Yes, sign or direction. Whatever you choose to speak. Why is not it going? Okay. Yes. Now if you see, or I think it was bit cluttered. So let me make a slide. Okay. Now what I said is we started from variance, right? Then we set covariance, right? Then we said what? Correlation. And then we said regression.
Regression.
Here I said spread of one variable or a variable, right? That is what I said, spread or dispersion, correct? Right? This is what I said. This is relationship between two variables. And what type of relationship it gives? Sign of the relationship. Correct? Whether the relationship is positive or negative. Positive means if one is increasing, another one will also increase. One is decreasing, another one will also decrease. Correct? On the other hand, negative relationship means if one is increasing, another one is decreasing, and vice versa. Clear till here?
Yes.
I also proved it to you that when we say there is a word co, that means two variables are present. Let's say this is the formula. I said, look at this formula. If I replace x and y, let's say I have two variables, x and y. Now I replace even y with x. That means I just want to know the covariance of x with respect to x. So this will be xi and this will be x bar in the place of y. Yes or no?
Yes.
That means in the next step, it will be square.
Yes.
And that is precisely the formula of variance,
Variance.
right? So in a way, covariance is a relationship. If we see the covariance of x and x, it gives us how x is varying with respect to itself. Now there is a very good thing coming out of this. If it becomes a square, then theoretically you can say it will always be positive. Yes, no?
Yes.
If anything is
Yes.
squared, that cannot be negative. Yes or no?
Yes.
I want more voices. Yes or no? Correct?
Yes.
So if I'm
Yes.
saying xi minus x bar square, it will always be positive, always, no matter what is the value. Correct? In any deviation, it will be positive. Why? Because there is a square there. Correct? Now, doesn't it give you that if x, the relationship with x with itself will always be positive? Mathematically, we are getting positive, I know. But let's talk about in the terms of our concept. What I'm saying, that it gives the sign of relationship. So what do you think? If I'll put plot x versus x, if x is increasing, the same value will be of another x. You understand? Let's say I'm talking about two variables, x and y, where y is also x, right? So if this is 2, this is also 2. If it becomes 4, this will also be 4. If it becomes 1, it will be also 1, right? So in a way, if this is increasing, this is also increasing. Yes or no? So that is the reason our concept also tells us that this will be positive.
Yes.
right? Now to conclude, in a way, we said that covariance gives us the sign of the relationship or direction of the relationship, right? We have another things to study about relationship we are going to come to next, but first, you understood what covariance gives us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say if I have to compare the relationship, let's say, or if I have to find out the strength of the relationship, so there should be any measurement, yes or no?
Yes.
There should be any criteria that I should be able to understand what is the strength of the relationship. Yes, it is positive, but how positive? You understand? See, in a way, let's say there are two students. I know that number of hours they will study and marks is positively correlated. That means the more you will study, the more you will perform, right? So if I plot your graph and my graph, both will be positively positively related or positive covariance. But is it possible that both of us will perform in the same way? Let's say if I study for 1 hour, you study for 1 hour, maybe you are performing better than me, yes or no?
Yep.
Though I am my performance is also increasing as per my hours of study is increasing, yours performance is also increasing. That means mine is also positive, yours is also positive. But how will I come to know, or how can you compare my performance with yours? You understand that what I'm trying to talk? Even though the relationship of both the things are positive, but then also I am not able to understand which one is better, who is performing better. No, what I mean to say is, let's say there is student A, or let's name it Ram, right? And this is Shyam, right? Now let's talk about these two people, hypothetical names. Okay. Now let's say I am plotting two variables. One is what? Hours of study and marks of Ram. So this is one variable, this is one variable. Yes or no? Similarly, the same two variables, hours of study and marks of another person. Okay. Now let's say I am plotting let's say for 1 hour, if Ram studied. Yes. So this is one, let's say this is two, this is three, this is four, right? So let's say this is how we perform, right? Let's say Sham, right? Now this, let's say this is the marks, correct? Okay, in one. Now, how would I come to know who performed better? If I find out the correlation or covariance of this, the sign or direction will be positive for this also and positive for this
Yes.
also.
Yes.
Understanding, right? So in a way, covariance is only giving me the direction, but I need more detail. And what is that detail? Strength of the relationship. Correct? For that, I have to take help of correlation. I said, right? Here, sign of the relationship is there. Here also relationship I'm telling, right? And what is that relationship? Sign or direction and strength. Correct? And how would I come to know the strength? With the help of correlation coefficient. Correct? I'm coming to that, but see this formula, covariance formula upon standard deviation of x into standard deviation of y. sigma x into sigma y, because there are two variables. So I am just dividing the whole formula of covariance by standard deviation of x and standard deviation of y, that two multiplied. Is this formula clear of correlation?
Yes, yes.
So that when I show you the larger formula, you won't get confused. So if you see, so you can write sigma x, sigma y also, or sx and sy also. What is the difference in these two? What is the difference? No difference, right? So usually, see, sign convention, they use it for samples, correct? But you can still use both, given that you just define it for which you are telling, correct? You can use sigma or s, both, any of these two. Clear? So don't get confused when you see this formula. So if those formula is combined, you will get this formula, correct? This looks complex, but that is the same formula. You understand?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now let's talk about what is correlation. As I said, the name correlation, how two variables are related, how closely related or how vaguely related, and how will I come to know how closely it is related? By the strength of the relation, right? And in addition to that, I also have the sign of the relation. So let's say if I directly, instead of going for the covariance, I go with correlation, I can get both the sign and strength of the relation. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if someone asks you about correlation, would you be able to tell what is correlation? This is the keyword, strength and direction. Correct? And how do we measure correlation? With the help of correlation coefficient. And what is correlation coefficient? We are coming to that next. But till now, is this clear?
Yes.
I need answers, right? Guys, please don't sleep. I know the weather is very good outside. You have to constantly answer me. अरे yes no बोल दो ना बीच में, मतलब I
Yes.
get
Yes,
motivated.
bro.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, make a resolution. You guys ping in the group. I don't get the recording, but while I am live, you guys are not asking. I mean, you are not talking. What is the problem? Okay, please talk. Okay, what is correlation coefficient? As I said, I'll get the strength. See, if I had to get the direction, I would have got it from covariance also. But in order to find out the strength, I need to find out correlation coefficient. Now, there are usually two types of correlation coefficient that we use. The first one is Pearson's correlation coefficient, and another one is Spearman's rank correlation. That is also we are going to see. But for now, let's see Pearson's correlation, which is used mostly. Okay.
Dhruv,
Now,
sorry to interrupt. You are saying that strength. So strength means that what is the strength? Could you please explain this strength?
yeah, strength means how closely two variables are related. Correct? There can be 100% correlation at max. Correct? Two variables can be 100% correlated. That means x and x, if you take these two, that means those are 100% correlated. That means the strength of the relationship is 1. If it is in positive side, then the correlation coefficient is +1. If it is in negative side, then the correlation coefficient is -1. And the range in which the strength varies is from -1 to 1, or the correlation coefficient range is from -1 to 1. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, if it is clear, tell me one thing. If I say correlation coefficient R, by the way, correlation coefficient is denoted by R. Okay. If I say R is equal to 0, what does that mean?
There is no, between two variables,
Correlation
they are
is
not
zero.
related.
No correlation at all.
Yeah. So no relation between two variables, right? Or you can also say no correlation. But why I am saying to use this word is because if someone is asking you about correlation, you cannot give the answer in the same word, correct? Right? Now, if
Strength,
I ask
strength,
you,
that means strength is 0, right? No
go ahead,
strength
go ahead.
between.
Ask. बोलो क्या हो गया?
Yeah, that means the strength is, there is no strength between these two variables,
No
correct?
relation, yes. No strength of relation, that means no relation, right?
Okay, yeah.
Strength is 0 means no relation, correct?
Yeah.
Now, if I say R is equal to 1, what does that mean?
100%
100%
correlation.
positive sign.
Right? That means 100% correlation, or these two variables are 100% correlated, is what you will say. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if I give you -1, then
That is also 100%
negatively
correlation, but
correlated.
negative correlated.
yes, negatively correlated. That means, what does that mean? That if one variable is increasing, another variable is decreasing. Sorry, not this sign. But if one variable is increasing, another variable is decreasing. This is 100%, or you can say if this type of thing, it is negatively correlated. And if the strength, magnitude of strength is 1, that means 100% negatively correlated. If the plot, if you plot and the relationship comes to be like this. Clear?
Drew, one question here. When R is equal to 0, the plot would look like two parallel lines.
I'll come to that, how the plot will look like. We have that in our syllabus. Okay. Let's talk about the sign and strength first. So this sign, whether it is positive or negative, will give you the sign of the relationship. And this value, whether it is 0.5, 0, 0.8, 0.65, 0.5, or 1 for that matter. Maximum can be 1 on the both side, whether it is negative or positive. Just that negative means negatively correlated, correct? And 1 if you get, that means it gives the strength of the relationship. Strength means 1 is 100% correlated. 0.8 means not 100% correlated, but still a strong correlation. Understood? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, actually, we understood the
Yes.
concept, but can you give any example?
I'm coming to that. But did you understand the sign and strength?
Yes.
But when we talk
Yes.
about all these things, should we talk about two?
We are going to solve questions also.
I mean, you took the example of Ram and Sham, right? So, effect of study hours and marks in case of Ram and also in case of Sham. So there are two different graphs basically. So when we talk about all these things, it is always the same. We talk about two different graphs and we correlate between those two.
We check the strength of the correlation, right?
Okay.
So let's say I have n numbers of variable. That means n number of columns in my data, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, no, to bolo yaar. If I am asking, you guys are not. See, that gives me an impression that something I have, you're not following, right? So, or my audio is muted or something like that. So you have to speak, right? So let's say I have multiple variables, x1, x2, x3. There can be multiple ways. So what I can do is I want to find out and see how this particular variable is affecting y, correct? Now I can see how my x2 is affecting y, and I can also see how my x3 is affecting y. Let's say x1 and y, x2 and y, and x3 and y, right? So there can be three correlation coefficients.
Yes.
This came out to be 0.8, this came out to be 0.6, this came 0.3 or minus 0.3, let's say. Okay, what would you get from this information? First of all, on the left hand side, right, what will you get from this information? This tells that we are trying to find out the correlation between what?
X1 and Y.
X1 and Y. That means this is one variable, this is another variable.
Yes.
On the right hand
Yes.
side, I said there are two things. One is the sign. So if it is not given, then obviously it is positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is how we write in the mathematics, right? We don't
Yes.
mention positive. So what is the sign of relationship?
Positive.
And what is the
Positive.
strength of
Positively
Related.
correlated. Strongly correlated.
100%.
not
Not
100%,
100%.
0.8.
Is
If
80.
it was
Here
one,
on
it would have been
90.
100%. It is 80% correlated,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
0.8 is nothing but 80%.
80% correct.
I can say that after this information, can I say that y, x1 affects most the y? Yes?
Yes.
Or x1
Yes.
is highly correlated with y.
Yes.
Is it understood?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Now, how will you find the correlation? I haven't taught that. Obviously, I have given you the formula, but I'm coming to that next. Is it understood?
Yes.
We understood the concept, but can you give any example like x1 and y? Because x1, x2, x3, so on.
Let's say
Right. Then what is this y?
y is the target variable. Why I'm saying y is, okay, I'm giving you an example. Let's say, okay, let me take 5 variables, right? Y can be anything. Y was just to show you that one another variable, correct? Now let's say that I'm trying to talk about what you can say, income, right? Income, and let's say per capita income of that city in which, or the area in which I am living. Okay, income, my income, per capita income of the area in which I'm living. Okay, and let's say square feet area of my home, right? And at last, I'm just writing the spend. There are different types of variables, right? And I'm seeing that on which all variables my spend is dependent upon. Understanding my point? So if I give you a hint, obviously my spend will be directly proportional to my income. Yes, no?
Yes.
And due to
Yes.
social pressure, pressure, per capita income, that means, let's say if I'm living in an area, a very posh area, obviously due to social pressure, my spend is going to be more. I have one car, I will take another one. This time Audi, next time, BMW, like that. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Similarly, if the square feet area is more, let's say, just an example. See, in data science, you never know which particular variable can help you. This can also be one of the variable. Let's say I have the list of all of my customers, square feet area of their home. Let's say they live in 2000 square feet. The chances are the number of family members are more, right? And maybe if more number of family members, more spend. Yes or no?
Yes,
Correct.
Yes.
In a way, everything is giving a positive sign. That means positively correlated. But what is the strength? For that, I have to calculate correlation coefficient. How will I calculate? Either with the use of formula or with the use of Python. Correct? How will I do that? I'll make a pair, right? I'll use income and spend, PCI and spend, this and spend. And that is the reason you have a matrix, right? So whenever you find out the correlation, you have a heat map, right? So let's say if I have x1, x2, x3, y, x1, x2, x3, sorry, and let's say y, just forget anything. So x1 with respect to x1 is always going to be 1, that too positive. Yes or no? So diagonally you will have this 100% correlated. The rest you will have to calculate all others. क्योंकि मुझे पता है x1 correlation with respect to itself will be 100%, and that too in positive direction. I have
Yes.
already spoken about this. The rest will be calculated. How will it get calculated? Based on this, or mathematically if you calculate based on this. Clear?
Yes.
Does that answer your query? Who asked this question?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other confusion you have?
no confusions. It's clear.
Okay, cool. Now, anyways, I was coming to that, but after I wanted to explain. Okay, anyways, coming back. So we spoke about the direction and we spoke about the strength, and we saw how both the things are related, right? How
Dhruv.
we can, or what
Yes.
information I can achieve from there. If I'm getting minus 0.8, that means what is the sign of the relationship or direction of the relationship?
It's negatively
Negative.
correlated.
Negative. And what is the strength of the relationship?
80%.
80% or
80%.
0.8. Both the things you can speak. Just that the difference is whenever you are saying 0.8, you have to mention that the correlation coefficient is 0.8. Pearson's correlation coefficient R is 0.8. Or in other words, you can say it is 80% correlated. Clear? I'm not
Yes.
going to explain this formula because all of you know what all these things are. Xi is the individual point
Data
of X
point.
variable. This is mean of X. Again,
Mm.
this is individual data point of Y variable. This is mean of Y. And you know, Sx, Sy, I have already explained, standard deviations. Clear? But you will never use this formula. Just for reference I have given. What will you use? You will use this.
Python.
Since we are working with Pearson's correlation, we will just pass on the method is equal to Pearson. And this is the formula dot core. Core means correlation. Is it clear?
Yes, Dhruv, like I have one doubt. When will we use correlation and covariance in the data?
See, first of all, covariance you will never use. Okay, but then also I taught, because there is a hierarchy. You understand? You need
Yes.
to learn the concepts properly. If I would have just removed it and then taught you correlation, that would also have helped you. Why? Because you are anyways going to use correlation, but there is a slide. You understand? There is a proper descent. So right from variance, after covariance, and then correlation, and then regression. Clear? Now you know your concept is properly clear. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Okay. All of you might be thinking that when will I get to know what is the good strength, or what is highly correlated, what is a good strong relationship, or a not so strong relationship. Okay, we are coming to that. But before that, someone asked me how a zero correlation looks like. See, in real life, zero correlation does not exist. You understand? Perfectly zero correlation you won't get. If you if you yourself are plotting some point, and in a way you are finding out a relationship to be zero, then obviously it is fine. But any relationship, there is a thumb rule, right, in which we just define it, the relationship to be strong, weak, or no relationship. I'll be coming to that, but let's see. This is a sign of positive relationship. So if you plot two variables and this looked like that, then obviously you can see that if this variable is increasing, this variable is also increasing, another variable. On the other hand, you can say this is a trend of negative correlation or negative relationship, and this shows you in a way no relationship. Yes or no? Very weak relationship, no relationship. This is how it will look like. Understood?
Dhruv, one question. Negative correlation means here we can say, for example, just a hypothetical example, as we move away from Earth, suppose in our weight keeps on decreasing, something like that. Like one variable is increasing, another is decreasing, something like that.
You want to say, yes, you want to say that your axis or this variable is distance from Earth, and this is your relative weight, right?
Yeah.
So if this is increasing, this is decreasing. So this is type of graph you will have, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So that is a negative relationship. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Understood? Now the thumb rule. Again, I am saying before I am going to the next slide, there is no black and white in stats. It is up to you, correct? Let's say in any problem, 0.9 I'll consider it as a strong positive correlation, or minus 0.9 as a strong negative correlation, right? But in another type of problem, even you can take 0.68 as a strong relationship. Just giving a thumb rule, right? Obviously, if R is equal to 0, that means no correlation in any of the problem, right? But when it comes to the strength, it is you who will decide whether you are considering, very good correlation. I mean, very strong correlation. What is your level? How will you decide that? Let's say if I'm working on any problem, right? If I'm working on any problem, correct? And I am trying to find out the relationship of my target variable. Let's say in this example, what is my target variable? Spend, right? Yes, no.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Correct. Now, if this is why someone said no. Hello. Okay. Now what is happening is, am I audible?
Yes.
See, what I meant to say by, let's say this was the target variable. What is the target variable? Whatever we are going to predict, this more you will learn in machine learning. I'm just giving a reference that we have independent variable, or target variable, right? With the help of these variables, we try to predict how much this guy will spend, correct?
Yes.
So if this is what we want to find, that is the reason we name it as target variable. This is our target, or this is what I want to find out. Okay. Now, what I mean to say is, for example, I found out the correlation, and all of the correlation are coming out to be like 0.1, 0.23, correct? Like that. Who is? Okay, 0.23. Okay, someone was someone accidentally on their video, so I was just switching off the video. So 0.1, 0.23, 0.3, like that. Okay, understand? If all of the relationship is coming like that, and accidentally for one variable, I mean for another variable, let's say xn and y, this relationship came out to be 0.68. So this becomes relative, because all other relationship is very less, and this is coming out to be 0.68, close to 0.7.
Yes.
So it is the king of that territory. Yes. So let's say if all these guys are getting this much mark, and this has got 68%, okay, so he will behave like a king or not?
Yes.
So at that particular problem, this will be treated as a strong correlation. This was my point to make. Understood? In another problem, when
Yes.
all of the your correlation is the varying between 0.6 to 0.9, obviously this is not so strong correlation in that particular problem. You can say that this is weak positive correlation, and 0.9 as strong positive. So it all becomes relative. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Yes.
I have seen this question being asked in the interviews. They will ask you this, just give them this answer, that depends. Okay. But yes, if they ask you, if you get 0.9, then you cannot say it depends. 0.9 is obviously 90% correlation, which is always strong. I'm talking in the terms of if all of the relationship is 0.1, 0.2, 0.34, and in one of or two of the relationship you are getting or correlation coefficient as 70% or 80%, then obviously what you can say, it is highly correlated, strongly correlated. Clear?
Yes.
This thing we have already discussed. Kind of correlation is depicted by the sign, positive or negative. How strong is the value of correlation coefficient? Correct. What is the range of correlation coefficient?
-1 to
minus
1.
1 to +1.
This is the range, -1 to +1, where +1 or -1, yeah, 100% correlation. This is on the negative side, this is on the positive side. 0 means,
No relation.
yeah, no relation, no correlation. Okay. Even if you get, let's say 0.10, correct, and all others are in higher range, this also you can consider as very weak relation or no relation. So there is no thumb rule that only if you get exact 0, then only you will say as no correlation. No, you can still tell it as no correlation even if you get very less. Okay.
Okay.
You understand? So because it is of no use, this much relationship is no use to me, then I can say that no correlation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how a -1 correlation looks like. This is, -0.7, -0.4. This is kind of 0, not exactly 0, but let's say 0.0000123, like that. Okay. So kind of 0. Positive 0.4, 0.7, 1. Okay. This is how it looks like. Okay. And what is the thumb rule that you have to remember? Any relationship value or the Pearson's correlation coefficient, if it is greater than 0.75, magnitude I'm saying, whether in the negative side or in the positive side, if it is greater than 0.75 on the either side, then you will consider it to be a strong correlation. Thumb rule I'm saying. But again, this concept will vary according to the problem that you are solving. Okay.
But,
Yes,
but
sir.
how do we answer for this negative correlation? Should we consider this?
What is the question that you want to answer?
Yes.
What is the question that you want to answer?
Question is like when we have two correlations, like example R1 and R equals 0.
R is
-1, so negatively correlated, and there is no relation.
These are the two relations you are telling me, right?
Yes.
Then what is your question?
So this R is -1 only. Like what does it tell me in the data? At least data is in relationship, but it is in negative direction.
It is 100% in relationship, right? That means
Yes.
there is 100% correlation. And
Yes.
this tells me about the sign. I told you this. What are the two things that we discussed? Sign and strength. So
Yes.
minus tells me about the sign, and this value, whether it is 1, 0.8, 0.4, 0.7, 0.68, any value between 0 to 1, okay, that will tell me about the strength.
Okay. Understood.
Right? And
Yes.
how will I categorize it, whether it is strong correlation or weak correlation? I have a thumb rule. Anything above 0.75 on the both side, here also, negative side also and positive side also, I'll consider it as a strong correlation. Correct?
Okay. Yes.
Just a thumb rule. Okay, clear?
Yeah.
Now let's say a teacher wants to determine the correlation between the number of hours spent studying and test score, right? So let's say this is the number of hours spent in the studying and this is the test score, correct? And I want to find out the correlation. If really number of hours spent in studying affects the test score, what will I do? I'll find out the correlation coefficient. Okay, so in one line you can do is using, df.cor method is equal to Pearson. But here I'm just going with the help of, let's say, formula. So you have xi here, yi here. Now what was the formula? Xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar, if you remember correctly. So what is x bar here? So if I have just added and divided by 6, so this is the x bar, and I have subtracted. So this is individual xi minus x bar, right? Here yi minus y bar, and here the multiplication, correct? And if you remember, there was a summation. So if I do the summation, we get 821. So here it is 821, correct? Now, what is the n here?
N is sample size.
Total
Number of samples. Number of samples.
Number of samples or sample size?
Sample size.
Sample size.
Again, see, you guys are getting confused. So n is
Sample size.
Sample
6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So n minus 1 would be 6 minus 1, right? Now I want to just replace sx, sy, okay? So I know if I have all the values, I have the mean, I can find out the standard deviation, yes or no?
Yes.
Of x, of y. I can just replace these two values by 8.28 into 32.91. So if I do, okay, if I do, I'll get the correct answer of R.
Yes.
Find out what is the value of R quickly.
Point six.
0.602.
So tell me, what is the direction and strength of the relationship?
It's positive and weakly correlated.
Not so strong.
See, I would suggest you one thing. Oh, sorry, correlation. Slight correction. If someone is just giving you two variables, don't say strong or weak, just give them the value. Say 60% correlation, or the correlation coefficient is 0.602. Okay. Strong or weak, I said it is all relative. Correct?
Yes.
If you even if you want to say it as weak, you can still say it, but you have to mention that I have used the thumb rule. Correct?
Yeah.
What is anything we usually consider anything above 75% as strong correlation. That is my understanding. You can tell them, right? Is it understood?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Solve this question. Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, no, it's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if you have written the question, you can give me the answer tomorrow. That's fine. Okay. Let's go ahead. That was about Pearson's correlation coefficient that we just saw. Okay. Now let's say if I am working with any I'm working with two non-linear variables, right? That means those are non-linearly related. How will I come to know?
Based on the curve.
Yeah, based on the curve, right? So if it is there, then your Pearson's correlation is not a good metric to find out the relation or correlation. Then what we use? We use Spearman rank correlation. The only difference is here you will use the method is equal to Spearman. Okay, and this is the formula. Okay, now that was Pearson's correlation coefficient was denoted by small r, and this is denoted by rho, right? This. So Spearman rank correlation. As the name suggests, it involves rank. What is that? I'll tell you with the help of an example. Okay. Let's see the steps. You would get to know the same thing. See, the concept is same. It is also there to find out the relationship between two variables. The only difference is just that it will rank the variables in that order and then try to find out the relationship. How will I do that? I'll come to that. Now the things are same. The direction and strength, both the things will come. Now create a new column. This will be a bit, confusing. So let's go directly to the question and just try to look. Let's say the scores of 10 students in English and maths are as follows. So English marks are like this and maths marks are like this. Okay. And now I have to compute the Spearman rank correlation. Right? Is there a relationship between maths marks and English marks? Understood the question, guys? Tell me.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the first step? This is my English mark. I have just put it in column format, right? Now see here, these two you see. Don't go and look into other columns. First, let's see the rank of the English. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm just ranking the maximum mark as 1. That is how we rank, correct?
Yeah.
What is the second highest? 76. So I'm ranking it as 2. Similarly, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say 10 students are there. So I have these ranks. Similarly, I'll rank the maths mark. So this is 80. So I'll rank 1. Where is our rank 2? So in maths, the rank 2 comes here. So I'll rank 2 here. Correct? I'll just name the mark as rank. So I got the rank of maths also. Any confusion till here? Very easy, right?
Yes.
What is the difference in the rank? So 9 minus 4, 5, 3 minus 2, 1, 10 minus 10, 0, 4 minus 7, minus 3. But I have written 3. Doesn't matter. Why? Because anyways, we are going to do the square. So you can say that you would have done minus 3. I'm just taking the magnitude. Okay. If you take all the magnitude of the difference and then square, even if you take the sign, then also if you do square, it will be same, right? So what I have done, I have taken the difference in the ranks and then did the square. So I have the d square. Any confusion in anything that I just explained?
Drupal, if there are 5 subjects, then we have to get the difference of all these 5 ranks, right? 5 subjects.
So rank will be 5. If you have 5 students in your class, then rank will be till 5 only. You cannot have 10th rank, correct?
I'm saying that subject means if there are 5 subjects instead of 2, then also you have to find
No,
out
see,
rank.
correlation you can only find of 2
Okay.
variables.
Yeah, yes, sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, understood? Now let's go ahead. What was the formula? This was the formula. I have the D and I have the N. I don't need anything else. So what is my, D square, summation of D square, right? So let's say, what is my D square here? 25, 1, 0, 9. So if I have to do the summation, I'll do 0 is anyways, I can, if I add or don't add, that is same. So I added all the D squares, right? I got this 54. So I know the summation is 54 and the formula says 6 into summation of D square, 6 into 54 upon what is the N value of N?
Samples. 10 samples.
Size.
10.
Sample size,
10.
not 10 samples. 10
sample
samples is a completely different thing. Okay. So 10 into 10 square minus 1 and 1 minus. So I forgot to tell you this. This is also included in the formula. Okay. And that will give you the Spearman rank correlation. Now, what is the difference here if you see? Can you tell me what is the main difference here with respect to that of the Pearson's correlation?
The data, I mean, the two different, there are two different things, I mean, two different subjects which are not linearly correlated in the sense.
That is the requirement. That is the requirement. But what is the difference here? So you see here, we are kind of sorting the data. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Ranking means sorting the data. See, you can take the rank of the least as 1 also. Can any one of you tomorrow give me the result if they take the lowest marks as rank 1? Okay, you will come to the conclusion that again the rank Spearman rank correlation comes out to be as same.
Okay.
Yes or no? Right. So that, what does that mean? I'm just sorting it. If I'm sorting the data in a way, what I'm doing is, I know it is, my ranks, right? Whatever, however I have ranked, it is varying with respect to that. It is increasing only or decreasing only. Yes or no?
Correct.
Yes.
So in a way, that is just to counter. But 99% of the time, you are going to use Pearson's correlation. But just in case they ask you, and this is extra information in front of you, you can always give. Okay? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dhruv, one question. So, I mean, I understood that, as you said earlier, only through graph we can make out whether to go for non-linear. If the curve is non-linear, we should go for this one. But apart from that, is there any way where we should use this Spearman rank correlation?
Then you will have to find out the equation between two variables. I did not want to go with that particular thing because see, non-linear means polynomials, right? The power of x is increasing, right?
Correct.
That will be a bit more complex. So it is better that you, okay. So obviously, see, you if you find out the relationship, or if you just plot the equation of 2, and then it will come as non-linear. Obviously, you get from there. But how that usually you don't do, right? You always plot two variables, but you don't find out the equation between those two. Correct?
Correct.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
So that is the primitive way that you will decide whether to go with the Spearman rank correlation or Pearson's correlation. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now it was easier when we took the example. Now just read out these steps. This will, if I would have just shown you this would have been confusing. Yes or no? Correct? This would have been confusing. But the crux of the matter is, this is the step that you need to follow. So basically, you just rank, right, of the two variables, rank of one variable, then rank of the two variable, then you find out the difference, name it D, then you find out the square of the difference, and then you just sum it, multiply by 6, and you have, and all these things you have. Correct?
True.
Okay, now Python, I have already told, you can simply write it like correlation, only you have to change the method. So if you change the method is equal to Spearman, you will get the Spearman rank correlation. Okay. But see, even for the linear, linearly related variable also, you can find out Spearman rank correlation. It is just the difference in the use. Which one you will consider? You understand? If you pass method is equal to Spearman, who is going to stop you? Even if you pass for the linear variable. But it is, you should be able to understand that even I have calculated, but this I won't use. Correct? In my analysis. Is that understood?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Now, this is kind of, we are coming to, okay. Just read this. It says, a few years ago, a survey of employees found a strong positive correlation between studying an external course and sick leave days. Okay. Does this mean that studying makes them sick, or sick people study a lot, or did they lie about being sick so that they can study more? You understand what I'm trying to say? Let's say there is a variable called, study for external course. For example, all of you have decided to go for data science course, right? And now on another variable is sick leave you have taken in your companies, correct? So people have seen that there is positively correlation in these two variables. So does that mean that people who are studying external course are falling more sick? Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to ask?
No,
what I'm trying to convey?
the third one, right?
See, this is just to ponder. I am not going to, there is no correct answer, right? But it is up to you. What do you think would be the reason?
Third one, they light sick, so they can study.
It is just for you, Ranjini, I guess. I'm not sure if for others. Okay, that means if you get a good correlation, that will not always mean that both the things, I mean, first variable is causing other. That is from where we started our class. You remember the very first class we took?
Third variable or something. Like
Yes.
liquor shops
Yes.
and city.
Not okay. That is one of the concepts that we discussed, but I'm saying that you have to perceive the mathematics in your own way. Your correlation will tell you that yes, there is a good correlation, but you have to ask yourself, is this variable that is causing other variable to change? Or is it just changing as it is? Correct? Because of some third variable. Just that both the things are increasing doesn't mean that this is changing. I mean, this is changing another variable. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, correct.
Now look at another example. Poor suburbs are more likely to have high pollution, right? Does that mean poor people make more pollution? Are polluted suburbs the only place poor people can afford? Or is it a common link, such as factories with low paying jobs and lots of population? You understand? So see, your correlation will give you this only, this statement only. You will be telling that my correlation is telling me that the poor suburbs are more likely to have high pollution. Correct?
Correct.
Now, whether you are making out the conclusion as this, or anything else depends upon your knowledge, your logics. Is it clear?
Yes.
It is up to you. Okay. Now my point here is you have to think like a data scientist, and in a way you have to conclude what do you mean by this. You should have strong evidence in the support of your answer or your conclusion. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe then you want to do another or you want to do more research in order to come up with that result. So don't hurry. Some people, what they do is they just find out the correlation and then they get 90% correlation and then they just spell out, okay, this is highly correlated. You have to think also, correct? So the aim is to be not to be a data scientist, to be a good data scientist. Okay.
Okay.
That brings me to kind of the closer of our descriptive stats. What all things we studied. I have revised these things yesterday. Again, let us go. So stats we saw, importance, population versus sample, types of variable, types of charts, Descriptive stats measures central tendency, dispersion, symmetricity, and shape. 5-number summary, box plot. That is also called box and whiskers plot. Effect of transformation on central tendency and spread. Outliers, how to detect outlier. Okay, modified box plot. Have we studied this or not? I want answer from you guys. I know you guys have forgot, but we have studied. I'll show you where.
Yes, we
Modified
will.
box plot.
Yes, we have studied.
Yes.
I just explained what is modified box plot. It looks very, fancy, but modified box plot just means that you just remove the outlier. Okay. IQR method, Z-score method. These are the main two methods that we studied to determine the outlier.
Yes.
Yes.
After that, we studied covariance, correlation, Pearson's correlation coefficient, nature and strength of correlation, how to calculate Pearson's correlation coefficient and Spearman rank correlation coefficient. Any confusion in anything that we studied?
Dhruv, one more time.
No.
You can explain why for Spearman rank correlation we are subtracting from 1.
Huh? Sorry?
Why for Spearman rank correlation coefficient, why we are subtracting from 1? So that you
See,
can.
okay, so see, whenever you are finding the it is based on this. See, you have to make it in a range of in the same range that you have the Pearson's correlation, right? If you see the formula, you are multiplying by 6.
I've connected
correct?
to my mobile now. Then
Okay, guys, if you're speaking, please
no,
go on mute.
only I am getting this.
Just a request.
Everybody else is.
Okay?
Abhi theek hai.
Your voice is breaking for me, but you got my answer, right? If you're multiplying by 6, obviously, if you don't subtract by 1, your your value is going to be increased, right? And that is how statisticians have come up with this formula that I have to decrease. Okay, before I start, the next topic is sampling techniques. What is sampling, guys?
Sampling is a part of the population data.
Sample is a part of population.
Yes.
What is sampling?
Selection of the
Conducting a survey and getting the data. Data collection basically.
Yeah, you can say
selecting
that.
the sample.
See, yeah. See, I like this, that even though I haven't taught you, you guys are at least trying. That is a good sign, and that is the sign of the people who are there to learn. Okay. And see, before I start, even talking about the samples or sampling techniques, let me tell you very simple things. That sampling will be done by statisticians. Even in your, if you're working in product companies, it will be done by a statistician, proper statistician, when I say, who has done some PhD or something like that. But you should be able to know from which method the data has come to you, what type of sampling was done, correct? For that reason, we are studying the sampling. Okay, can we go ahead?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we have already told that population is the total data which we are going to investigate, right? And sample is small part of that population, which
Yes.
we read and then infer about the population, right? Now, what is the benefit? I don't have to, investigate or interview every individual that belongs to that population, right? Clear? So that is the what sampling helps us in. Okay. Now let's look at the need of the sampling. Why do we need sampling at the first place? Some parts of it we have already covered, but let's go and get some pointers, right? We know that it is done to draw a conclusion about population, blah, 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 all these things we have seen, right? By just observing the sample. And then we infer about the population. And that is the reason the whole subject is called inferential stats. This thing we have discussed, yes, no?
Yes.
That is the first and foremost point that you will tell if they ask you, why do we do sampling? Why do we need sampling? Correct? And what is the benefits of sampling? These things, the first point. Second point is convenience. Right? Convenience in the time, requires less time. Obviously, see, if it is but obvious, right? To interview 10 people versus to interview 1 lakh people, which will consume less time?
Yeah.
Interviewing the sample, right?
10
Instead of
people, yeah.
population. Similarly, it will consume less time, less complexity, and less money. Correct? That means it is also cost-effective method, and less complex means less cumbersome and more practical. See, because I know that if you have to conduct a survey on all employees, you can still do that. But let's say the result of that survey you want to utilize to give 100 rupees gift coupon, right? And now you are, let's say, what is the problem? 10 people, right? Now, I'm saying that, let's say I have to distribute a gift coupon of 100 rupees to all the students of my class, correct? You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Now, and I need to do some survey, and then only I can distribute. Okay. So if, let's say, if my class is very small, I can still do that survey and then distribute. But let's say a very long company which has 5-6 lakhs employees. Now, to conduct the survey, they will have to spend more money than they are actually trying to give the gift card on. So is it feasible or is it practical to spend more money than actually required for that particular project?
No.
Right? And so for all these things combined, we use sampling. Okay, for one reason or more. Okay, but let's see what are the types of sampling. Correct. There are two types, majorly divided into probability sampling, or it is also called probabilistic sampling. Another one is non-probability or non-probabilistic sampling. Can someone define, even before me explaining, as the name suggests? Can someone try? The people who answer even before me teaching are the people who will answer the non-heard question or unheard questions in the interview. And I am just preparing you guys for that. Okay, so basically the sampling in which probability is involved are called probability sampling, and wherever there is no probability involved, okay, it can be based on the convenience, or obviously if there is no probability involved, the error would be more, right? But it is less complex, less time consuming, less cost consuming, right? Then obviously we can use non-probability, but it comes with a trade-off. In probability sampling, we will have a better representation of the population. In non-probability sampling, we'll have a less, I mean, not a so good contribution of the population. Is it clear? Yes, no, maybe.
No, Dhruv, can you explain once again? It's not clear.
So I'm saying that whenever we will use probability in any way, correct, to select the individuals from population, correct?
Okay.
Then that method would be categorized as probability sampling or probabilistic sampling. And if I just do it in a way which is more convenient and doesn't need to involve probability, then all those techniques will be categorized as non-probability sampling. As simple as that.
Okay.
How, we are going to see next. But is this clear till now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the very first example, and it is very easy example. Now what I have done is I have taken the same example in all the sampling. The reason is very simple. Usually if you go to the internet and you see the examples, people will give different examples of all the different types of sampling. And if you ask them to collate and give a conceptual answer, then they are confused, correct? That is the reason I have used only one example, so that you are able to differentiate what was happening there and what was happening here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's assume that I have this 20 balls of different colors, right? Red color balls I have 4, right? Yellow colors 4, and similarly all different colors, correct? Now what I'm doing is, the first I'm going to do is the types of probability sampling I'm going to study, and this sampling method is called simple random sampling. Okay. What is this type of sampling? This is also called random sampling, correct? Now, all of you once in your life would have used this sampling. I challenge you. Have you guys played that game, Tambula or something that usually HR people do?
Yeah, Housey,
Bingo.
bingo,
Whatever
Housey.
the name it is one of the 2 tasks that HR people do. There is a full outage from morning. Okay, so they have, Bestcom has already tweeted that it will be an outage till evening. Okay, what I mean to say is, HR people usually make rangolis and help you play tambula. I'm just joking, no offense. So yes, so all of you would have played that, right? Correct? Or let's say if you guys
Yes.
have played some lottery, right? And if someone has asked you to put out chits from a ball, or to find out something, right? Now just assume that out of these 20 balls, I have to draw 5 balls, correct? And I don't know the color of the ball or anything. I don't know. I have to just put my hands in a box, okay? And I have to draw balls, okay? Now just assume every ball has equal opportunity to come out. Yes or no?
Yeah.
That means the probability is involved. Yes or no?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
That means, what is the probability? That means 1 by 20 of each ball, right? Correct?
Yes.
So in a way, probability is involved, right? And what is the method? How will you explain this method? That out of the total population I have, I'll simply randomly choose the number of objects, or the is equal to the sample size I want. Let's say I want 5 objects or 5 observation. I'll select 5 observation. In this case, the observation is ball. It can be human, it can be ball, it can be any object, it can be any reading, anything. For now, let's consider it as ball. So if I want to have 5 balls in my sample, I'll randomly select 5 balls. Is probability involved here? No. Arey, involve hai na yaar.
No.
Probability is involved.
Yeah.
Each
Yes.
ball has equal opportunity to get selected. Yes or no?
Yes.
Correct.
What is the probability of getting the ball selected? 1 by 20. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
We will be studying probability after this, but for now, at least this would be easier. 1 by 20 agar yaad nahi bhi hai, to bas just concentrate that it is all theoretical. There is no mathematics involved here. I am just saying that yes, you have to understand that there is a probability involved. Yes or no?
Correct.
Yes. Involved.
Okay. Similarly, okay, now that means this is a type of probabilistic sampling, and this is, all of us have used it. I can challenge that. So all of you have used, then there is no confusion in this. Still any confusion, you may ask. Hello.
No confusion, bro. Got it.
Okay. Now let's go to another type of probabilistic sampling, that is called systematic sampling, right? Now what it happens is, what happens here is, let's say that we have 20, balls here. Okay, 20 balls here. And now again we have to find out, or we have to take a sample of 5 balls. There also we had to take the sample of 5 balls, right?
Correct.
Now, hello.
Yeah.
Yes, Dhruv, you're audible.
Okay. Now what I'm saying is, as the name suggests, we will systematically pick the ball, correct? Let's say randomly I have selected a ball of the 3rd number, right? And then, if let's say 20 balls are there and I have to select, select 5. So 20 upon 5, what is the number? 4, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Every 4th ball I can select. So if I have selected 3rd, I'll select 7th, and then 11, then 15, and then 19. So I got 5, I can stop there. So that is called systematic sampling. Is probability involved? Yes, it is involved. How? First ball, you selected first ball randomly, right? After that only you started the systematic sampling.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Now, is there a bias or an error here? Can you guys spot some error which we just introduced while doing the sampling?
First is random.
Because first one is random.
First one is random is not an error, right? After that, let's say I'm just taking 4th ball, exact 4th ball. Let's say
No,
somehow the 4th
third
ball
ball.
was green, right? The 4th ball was green. All the 4th ball was, put it in a way that all the 4th ball was green. So the my whole sample would look like a green balls, right? Then the
Right.
there would be no variety.
Okay.
My
Yes,
sampling
yes.
would be bad, right? So there should not be any underlying pattern. Then only you can do systematic sampling like this. Understood?
Yes.
This I have done for 20. It can be 20 lakhs also. Okay. Understood? Only thing you have to do is
Yes.
sample size. I mean, total, number of population upon the sample size that you want to do, and then that number. So every, let's say this upon this is came out to be 10. So every 10th element. Here it was 4. So every 4th ball. Correct? So systematically we are selecting the balls or individual or observations. Clear? Any confusion here?
No confusion.
Here, underlying pattern you are saying, right? But in this case, we didn't pick all the same colored balls, right? The pattern, the bias didn't happen, right?
But it did not happen, but I'm saying it may happen.
But there's a possibility.
Possibility of having the error, right? So
Okay.
you are doing the sampling. So you have to take care of the errors also, right?
Correct.
You understand? So you have to be ready with what errors may introduce, right? In your observation or in your samples.
Okay.
Dhruv, but how probability is involved here? We are
First
taking
ball-
this first one at random basis.
So
Then,
randomly means the first ball can be 1 also, 2 also, 3 also, 4 also, 20 also.
okay.
All the balls, collection of all the balls is equally likely. Yes or no?
Yes, got it.
But here we're considering the row wise, no? Every third element in that row.
No. First ball I'm saying. Yes, you started from 3, but only when you got 3 as your first number. If I have got 7th, right? Row, don't see the row. Row I did not. Did I say at any point of time that you have to take from the first row?
No, I saw the sample and then
Just the sample. Okay, it looked like that. It's fine.
3,
Let's say
7,
if I
11,
had got
15.
7, then I would have started from 7th, 11th, 15, 19, and then again the 4th. So I would have repeated it. It would have come as 3. Correct?
Yeah.
So Dhruv, sorry to interrupt. The bias will depend on our requirement. Like here our requirement is that we want 5 balls of different colors.
Different colors? Who said that?
No,
I
I'm just
want, no, it is always the requirement of the sampling that your sampling should have as much variation as possible. You understand what I'm saying? Let's say if you have a class who has boys and girls, right? And you are drawing a sample and you want representation from girls also and boys also. Yes or no?
Okay.
That is my aim. But if I get only boys in a sample or only girls in a sample, that is not a good sample. I need variations. I need representation from all caste, creed, or let's say all types of data which we have. Understood?
okay. Yes.
That is my aim. It is not that, yes, I'll be very happy if I got colors of all the, I mean, all the colors of the, whichever in the population. Here.
Okay.
And the
Hello.
interval, regular interval,
Got it, guys?
those are also predefined.
Interval. No, I said, right? Let's say, how will you find out the interval? Total population upon sample size.
Okay, got it.
So let's say here I gave an example of 20. And how
20.
many balls I wanted? 5.
One.
20 upon 5. So fourth ball, right?
Okay, got it. Yes.
This is not a formula. This is a concept, right? Let's say if you have 20 balls and you want 5 balls. What is systematic way of doing this? Every fourth ball, if you find out, then you will get 5 balls in altogether in 20 balls. Yes or no? That is what I'm trying to calculate. Understood? It is very simple. The things start getting interesting when we go to the next cluster sampling, right? See, next two types of sampling are very important, right? Cluster sampling and stratified sampling. Usually people ask the difference between them theoretically in interviews, right? You are not going to do sampling obviously, but they will ask in interview what is difference between cluster sampling and stratified sampling. Okay, what is cluster sampling? So see, what we are trying to do is first of all, we are building the cluster. Let's say this is the total population I have, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Making clusters, right? And let's say if I have to select, here I am selecting 4. Let's say if I had to select 5, I would have made 5 clusters, correct? Here, let's say I am selecting, I have to select 4, so I'm making 4 clusters. Clear?
Dhruv, there are 5 clusters, right?
Sorry,
there are 5 clusters.
Sorry, wait. My bad. You are making as many cluster as possible, right? As possible or as you want. Okay, not 4 or not 5. I mean to say that let's say I made 5 clusters, correct? You understand? Okay, let me. What I mean is, let's say I have 20 observation in my population, right? And let's say if I have to make a sample of 5, take out a sample of 5. So how many 5 object group can be formed? 4, right?
Yes.
And one more, right? For all 20. Yes or no? Let's see if I have to find out 4, then how many samples I can form? 5.
5.
Correct?
Yes.
Now based on, let's say you will say that it is not exactly divisible. Then what will happen? So usually I'll tell you why we are doing it like this. I'll tell you. So first of all, let's say if I have to find out 4. So how many clusters I can make? 5.
Yes.
I want 4. So 4 elements, how many groups can be made? 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. 20 ho gaya na? Right?
5. Yes.
5, correct? This number doesn't matter. Now what you are doing is, first of all, we have divided my population into clusters, and that is the reason it is called cluster sampling. right? And what we
Yes.
are doing is out of all the clusters, I'll randomly select one cluster. So how many clusters I have?
5
Fine.
clusters.
I will randomly select. So my cluster can be second cluster also, third also, fourth also, fifth also, or one first also. In this case, let's say by
Fourth.
chance it came as fourth
Fourth.
cluster.
Yes.
So it will contain all the elements in the fourth
Fourth
cluster.
cluster. Got it.
Now, some people will be confused. Let's say, Dhruv, I only want 3 elements. How many clusters can I make? Correct? This can be your confusion, right? Because if you divide 20 by 3, it is not whole number. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct? So see, usually cluster sampling is used when you have, population already divided in the terms of cluster. Let's say you want to take example of a city. So city is usually divided into areas, colonies, or something like that, wards, colonies, like that. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this can vary. In one cluster, this can be 4. Another cluster, it can be 3 only. Another cluster, it can be 4. Correct? But you have to keep in mind that the minimum number of points in the cluster should be equal to the number of points you want as a sample. Let's say I want 4, right? If I want 3, then what is the minimum requirement? Each cluster should have 3 points. Yes or no? Minimum 3 points. If any cluster has more than 3 points, then also it is fine. Understood my point?
3 points means what? Three
3 observations.
observations.
Sample size is 4 here. I'm saying if sample size you want as 3, then what will you do? You will have
Each
7
cluster
groups.
should
We will
have
have more
Seven groups.
clusters.
3 in each cluster
Three
at
Seven.
least.
7
3
clusters.
clusters.
7 clusters.
Clusters, yeah.
Minimum 3, right? Let's say 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So how many we have? 15 plus 3, 18, right? In the last cluster, we have 2, which is not allowed. Why? Because randomly, if I select, I can get the last cluster and I will get only 2. I want 3. So what I can do is, in this cluster, I can do 5. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 plus 5. Correct? You understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Understood.
Minimum requirement is there. If you get more, then it is up to you. You just choose 3. Okay, that is what happens. But I just want you guys to understand the type of this type. First of all, you divide it in the clusters, and then you select one cluster randomly. Understood?
Yes, Dhruv.
Whole cluster. Why I am repeating again is because in stratified sampling, it is kind of bit different. In this, what we do is we divide the whole population and we subgroup based on the features. Let's say here the feature is color. So I'll make a subgroup. There we were calling the subgroup as clusters. Here we are calling the subgroups as strata. Strata or stratum. Just singular and plural. Okay. Now I am just combining all the red balls here, all the yellow balls here, all the green balls here, and all the blue balls here. Okay. So this is the strata of red ball. This is strata of yellow ball. This is strata of green ball. This is blue. Okay. And now what I'm doing is I'm randomly selecting one element from each strata. So let's see, if I randomly select one red ball, it can be 1 or 7 or 13 or 15. Let's say it is 7. Now it can be anything. Let's say it is 12. Now I have randomly selected it is 10 and it is 9. Clear? Yes, no? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Clear.
What is the difference here? If you see, you are ensuring that there is a representation from all the colors. Correct? Let's say if I have to divide or make the strata based on the economical condition, and if I just divide based on, let's say, salary below 1 lakh per annum, right, or below 3 lakh per annum, below 5 lakh per annum, below 8 lakh per annum, something like that, or range below 1 lakh, then 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 8, right? And that. Now I want representation from each of these strata, right? And what I can do is I can make the strata of all these subgroups, correct? And now I am selecting randomly people belonging to this strata, right? In a way, then at last my sample would, I am sure that my sample is containing the representation from all the strata or all the subgroups.
Yes.
What is the difference then? Now see, this is the benefit of having one example for all the sampling method. What is the difference? Now you guys will be able to tell. What is the difference between cluster sampling and stratified sampling? The first difference, there the
Subgroups
subgroup.
based on gender or category. Like here
No,
it is color.
not gender. They see, you don't have to specify something. You don't know the data, right? Whether
Yes.
that data is of people or object or anything. Don't specify anything about your data. You just say that based on the features, right?
Features, yes.
See
And
here.
in cluster, we just make subgroups or clusters based on
Clusters, and so that one cluster has maximum representation or maximum
yes.
variable, right? Here it is homogeneous. One strata is homogeneous among
Yes.
each other. There one cluster is heterogeneous.
Heterogeneous.
Right? Here
Yes.
I can ensure that I'll have representation from all subgroups or all strata. Can we ensure there?
Yes.
No. If you
no.
see here, no, we cannot ensure here in the
No,
question.
no.
Yeah,
If you
right.
see here, by chance we got only two colors. The rest,
Yes.
green, yellow, is not there. Correct?
Correct.
So these are some of the difference that after this you would be able to tell. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah, clear.
Yes.
Clear.
Everyone, see, mark this in your notebook, in your short notes. What is the difference between cluster sampling and stratified sampling? This is the only question that is going to be asked from the sampling. Okay, if at all they ask. Wrote?
Through with cluster sampling, so the variable selected in vertical form, no?
Sorry?
The variable you're selecting in a vertical form.
Vertical form. No. Array, yaar, you can take it as circular also. I'm just selecting one cluster randomly. Clear?
Okay.
Vertical, horizontal क्या होता है? What is vertical and horizontal? I have said, first of all, the clusters are divided, correct?
Yes.
And what is the criteria of division of cluster? My one cluster should contain most of the colors. I mean, should have variable, right?
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Now I'll select randomly one cluster. So out of 5 clusters, I'll select one. And now I cannot change. If I've selected one and randomly it came as 3, I have to go with 3. This time it came with 4, so I went with 4. Equal chances, na? If I have 5 cluster, I have to select one cluster. What are the chances? 1 by 5.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if we see stratified sampling, first of all, we have divided the strata, or subgrouping is based on the characteristics. Here, what is the characteristic? Here, the characteristic is color. Another example I gave is economical condition or salary. Another example can be area. Another example can be strength of the material if you are working on an automotive domain. Another, criteria could be if you are working in any financial domain, then let's say number of frauds. Correct? Credit card frauds. Yes or no? So based on the data set you are working on, this will change. That is the reason I have taken an easy example that the color represents the characteristics. Based on the characteristics, I have subdivided. Now one strata will contain homogeneous values, or people with the same economical condition, people with same, like that, based on your data set. So all these data points would be homogeneous to each other and heterogeneous to others, correct? And now I'm not selecting one strata. What will happen if I select one strata?
It will be again homogeneous. I mean,
Homogeneous, right? Which I don't want. So what I'll do is I'll randomly select points from each strata.
Each strata.
Now, if you see here, I have selected only 1 point. It depends upon how much you want. Let's say if I want, let's say 8 points. So I can select 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here. Correct?
Yes.
Any confusion till here?
No, Dhruv.
Okay. So basically, these are the 4 types of probabilistic sampling, okay, which were very important. Non-probabilistic sampling are very funny, okay. The probabilistic sampling or probability sampling, right? And we saw 4 methods in which we usually do the sampling, 4 common methods. What are those 4? The first one we saw random sampling or simple random sampling. This is a sampling we all have done at one point of the time in our life, okay, randomly selecting elements from the population, right? After that we saw systematic sampling, as the name suggests, systematically picking nth element from the population, and that nth or the n was decided by how many observation I want in my sample, that means sample size, and the total number of observation in the population, okay. After that, we saw the cluster sampling, in which we were dividing the whole population into clusters, right? And then selecting one cluster, right? And that cluster used to be our sample. After that, we saw stratified sampling, in which we were dividing the whole population into different strata. Here, the clusters are called strata, okay? And these are homogeneous. How is it homogeneous? Based on the properties. It may be anything like caste, creed, color, area, economical condition, strength of the material, age, right? All these things. Anything, any characteristic you define. And based on that, we were dividing it into strata. And we were selecting randomly elements from each strata. Clear? Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what is non-probability sampling or non-probabilistic sampling. See, anything where only convenience is involved and probability is not involved, that is where we will use non-probability sampling, or that is where we call it as non-probability sampling. As simple as that, convenience sampling. And this is very funny, right? Let's say this is based on my convenience. Okay, for example, let's say you are my client, you told me that I have to do sampling. Okay, you have to do sampling of people from my whole locality. Let's say I live in Whitefield, so I have to do sampling from Whitefield, right? I went on to my terrace, and from there I shouted, okay, and whoever listened to me, I asked them few questions, and based on that, I collected my samples. Okay, so what I did actually is, based on my convenience and for the people who want to be a part of my, survey or my sampling, I chose them instead of going and visiting the places. I did this. This is what, as the name suggests, is as per my convenience, and hence it is called convenience sampling. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now you will see, you will tell that there is a lot of error, bias involved in this. Yes, we have already told. See, sampling, all the sampling sampling techniques has error involved. The difference is probabilistic sampling usually have less error involved theoretically, and non-probabilistic sampling or non-probability sampling has more error involved, right? But the trade-off is in the complexity, in the, let's say, in this particular thing, even I can do the sampling like this, convenience sampling. I don't need to visit the places that less time consuming. Correct? Yes, no?
Yes.
If I need 10 people from this area, 10 people I can get from my neighborhood also, though that is bias, but that is used as per my convenience. Correct? Understood?
Yeah.
Now, usually small startups or NGOs with very less, money to invest on sampling, right? They usually use this type of sampling. Why? Because very less money involved. Okay. Let's say in out of all these, data points, 20 observations, each take each observation as an, as a human being. Okay. Now let's assume that this 4, 7, this person, right? These are the person who actually, were told that they will be a part of our survey. Once I got this much people, I am done. That's all. Clear? So this is as per the convenience of others as well as mine. Clear?
But then, Dhruv, what's the difference between convenience sampling and simple random sampling?
You tell me what is the difference here. Did every point got an equal opportunity to be selected in convenience sampling?
No.
I just did as per my convenience. That means people who are in my vicinity or in my neighborhood, they got the chance to get selected in my survey, not the whole Whitefield or not Bangalore, whole Bangalore. You understand the difference?
Okay.
This is as per my convenience and not as per probability. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. Now the another type of sampling is called quota sampling. Okay. Now see, there are this is a type of sampling in which we have some preconceived notions or predetermined characteristics of population, right? Okay. Now based on that, I am dividing the quota. This will look like a stratified sampling, right? Right? Stratified sampling. But the only difference is this is non-probabilistic. Quota sampling is non-probabilistic. Let's say in India, usually we have quotas. Correct? We have quotas based on the caste. Yes or no?
Yes.
So let's say if I have to do a selection for any, let's say exam, right? Any exam results, I have to take care of this also. So I have a quota of, let's say, people belonging from category A, category B, category C. I have to, I have to have 20% people from this, 30% for this, something like that, 10% for this, and rest for another C, D, E, F, G, H, or rest for this. Correct? You understand what I'm saying? So in a way, there is a quota or a reservation. Okay. And what is that reservation based on? Based on some predefined characteristic or predetermined characteristics. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I cannot change that. Can I change that predetermined characteristics? I have to consider that, yes or no? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Correct. So based on that determined characteristic, let's say what is that characteristic? That this category A has to be a representation of 20% in our sample, 30% in our sample, 10% in our sample, rest all 50% belongs to all other categories. So based on that, if I select, okay, then I can say that the individual points in our data set belongs to my quota. We will call it as quota, right? Or reserved. Yes or no?
Yeah.
On a lighter note, our managers usually do this type of quota sampling at the time of promotion or hike. They have a set criteria in their mind, and people who are fulfilling that criteria, they are getting hikes and placements? Yes or no? I mean, not placement, hikes and promotions.
Yes, yes.
Right, right.
And what is that? That okay, I'll select 20% for the people who is helping me. Rest 30% I'm selecting who is extending in the evening. Okay, even after the work time is over. 10% I'll select for the people who are working during the weekends. So those are the quota decided. I'm just on lighter note. I'm saying no offense to managers, but I mean some people, some bad managers do this. Correct. So that is a type of a reservation. So any predetermined characteristics, right? Now what is, so in a way, if you see here also we are dividing it into strata. And how is that strata? Let's say I've divided 20% belonging to category A. That means all those 20% will be belonging from category A. Yes or no?
Yes.
And then I'm selecting few people from there. Even your managers, there are few people who are going behind them, but not all get promotion. Best of the best who are behind the manager, they got promotion, right? Correct. But they are considered
Yes.
for the promotion. So this is what the strata, whole strata is considered for the placement, but only a few gets. Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say in my example, what I'm my predetermined characteristics is I'll select the balls in a multiple of 4. So I have selected 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Okay, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So these are, so what is my predetermined characteristic? This. For your data set, you may define, or your client will define, the predetermined characteristics in terms of quota sampling. Usually this is non-probabilistic sampling is not so much used in the data science, but still we are looking at this from the theoretical perspective. Got it?
Yes.
And it is obvious that people whom your managers chosen for the promotions are not the best, but we cannot do anything. So that is what it is. In quota sampling, the chosen sample might not be the best representation of the characteristics of the population. So there is a possible bias involved. Yes or no?
Yes, it's true.
And then we go to HR and complain that I was more deserving. HR say, okay, we'll look into this. Please write a mail to looping your manager, something like that. After that, nothing happens. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Now the last type of non-probabilistic sampling. This is very interesting, and I'll give you a very brief story. Let's say at the time, you understand, when HIV, right? Even now, HIV is something which is very feared about, right? AIDS is something which is very feared about disease. Now let's talk about Corona. When Corona started, how we used to perceive that? People, let's say people, someone, person one got affected with Corona, right? And let's say we in a population of 20 people, we don't know who all are affected with Corona. Correct. Only the people who are affected with Corona knows that this person is affected with Corona. Correct. Understanding my point? Now how will we do sampling of this kind of people? Because our interest lies in the people who has Corona, or who has tested Corona positive, something like that. Okay. So how can we know? No one will come to me and say, I'm Corona positive, I'm Corona positive. No, I cannot get. Okay. Now what I can do is I can just find out the first person who has got the Corona positive, and I can ask him to refer, or just tell me the name and address of the person, at least one person who he thinks or who he knows also has Corona. Let's say one referred 6, 6 referred 11, 11 referred 14, 14 referred 19, and I wanted to have 5 observation in my sample size 5. I got 5. I'll stop here. You understand? Why cannot I do random sampling here? Because not all are corona positives. You understand what I'm saying? And any one person doesn't have information about all the person who has corona. So this type of sampling is done whenever there is no information available about the type of problem or for which you are doing the sampling. Let's take an example of HIV. Usually what used to happen is, this is our society, that if someone was telling that I have HIV, people used to judge them, right? Now they used to hide it, and ultimately what used to happen is, they ultimately used to be dead after some time. Why? Because of not proper treatment and all, because of people's they used to be they used to fear with the judgment of the people, right?
Social isolation, basically.
Yes. Now based on that, what used to happen is, but they used to connect with each other. The people who were HIV positive, they used to have small gatherings, small NGO, something like that, let's say. Okay. Now if you have to do some good work, and if you have to do some survey among them, how will you do? You cannot go ahead and ask someone, do you have HIV? Because that is going to be complex. You will have to ask each and every individual. What is the best way? You go to only find one, you go to one, he will refer or nominate other, and then you will ultimately reach your goal. Correct? You understand? So that is the reason we call it snowball sampling. Why we call it snowball sampling? Let's say the name came from, let's say you are playing a game in which you have a huge snowball, right? And then you are just pushing it, right? Now you ask someone to help you. He came, he is started helping you. Now you don't know anyone else in that locality, but the person who you just called knows one person. He will call who he knows will help. He will also start pushing. That third person will also call fourth person will call some fifth person. Okay, in a way. So this looks like a snowball kind of game, and that is the reason statisticians named it snowball sampling. Understood? Interesting, right?
Yes.
But here again, you have a risk of bias, right? Now let's say I can maybe this person has referred this person has referred. So most of the person, they are referring people from, let's say, same economical background or same caste or same creed, right? You understand what I'm trying to say? So,
Yes.
so there is a chance of bias that we introduce after you do all these types of sampling. Snowball sampling, correct? So you see here, most of the points are blue. Why? Because 6 referred 11, 11 referred 14. That means they referred somewhere in their mind. They referred it from their own vicinity, their neighborhood, their friend circle, something like that. So kind of similarity between the points. Yes or no? So common traits, if that happens, so kind of your variability or the diversity will be decreased, and hence more bias. Understood?
Yeah.
Any confusion till here? Is not it easy?
Yes.
Okay. Only two things that you have to take away from here is cluster sampling, stratified sampling. Okay. The difference between those two. Okay. What is cluster? What is strata? Okay. Which out of cluster strata, which one is homogeneous among its own element and heterogeneous among its own element? Okay.
Okay.
Where do you do random sampling? From each subgroup, or where you select the whole cluster randomly? You understand? These 3-4 points you have to keep in mind. Once you revise, you will get to know. Okay, so that completes the types of sampling. Okay, one quick question. Which sampling technique do you think is the best one?
Stratified sampling.
I think that depends on the situation. I mean, the project we are
Right.
handling.
Right. See, this was a trick question. How how you guys are so enthusiastic to tell that I tell you, in data science everything depends. Let's say if you have to do sampling just for the case that you don't know about the population, you cannot make strata, you cannot make cluster, you cannot do, right? In the form of HIV, I gave an example, right? If you don't know, how will you do the cluster sampling or stratified sampling there? Can you do? You cannot do, right? So that is the reason we have to use probabilistic sampling or non-probability sampling in this case. So the one line answer is it depends. Correct? It depends. But you can tell me, you can answer it in a way that it depends. But if you ask me which is the most logical one, then obviously you can say that stratified sampling or cluster sampling. Okay? Got it, guys?
Yes.
So that was about the sampling. Okay. Chalo, guys, see you then in the next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.